Hello everyone, welcome back to the tutorials. So in previous session we have studied about the effect of compaction on properties of the soil. So we have started with module number 4, that is compressibility of soil, in which compaction and consolidation are two different parts which we have to study. So in that we have started with compaction. So in previous session we have studied about effect of compaction on various properties of the soil. So in today's session we are going to study the methods of compaction in the field. So there are several methods to compact the soil in the field. So in those methods will be depending upon type of soil, maximum dry density and economy consideration. So some commonly used methods are tampers and rollers. So tampers are either manually operated or they can be machine operated. So about 3 to 5 kg. If it is hand operated, then the weight will be 3 to 5 kg. So attached with wooden rod. So we have to lift it for 0.3 meter and we have to drop it. Now if it is machine operated, it will be usually varies from 30 to 150 kg, even up to 1000 kg in some specific cases. Okay, so these are about the tampers. Now rollers. So there are various types of rollers which are suitable for different types of soils. So we are going to study about the rollers and suitability for different type of soils in further session. So next one is actually we have studied about the compaction and its control, finding out the maximum amount of compaction, that is maximum dry density and optimum moisture content, in previous sessions. But how exactly the compaction is controlled in the field is a question now. So how to control the compaction in the field? How to compact the soil in the field? How much amount of compaction we have to do? Those are the questions which might be arising in your mind. So for that purpose only we have conducted the Proctor test, standard Proctor test and modified Proctor test. So from that we have calculated optimum moisture content and maximum dry density. So if we maintain optimum moisture content in the field and if we start compacting, we can able to achieve the maximum dry density. So apart from that, how that maximum dry density is to be achieved, how to check that, how to check if the water content is exactly equal to or nearby the optimum moisture content. Those are the things which are going to govern the field compaction control. So before studying field compaction control, let us study placement water content. So for the compaction we use different methods. For example, you can see tampers and rollers. So there are various methods of compaction we are going to use. So the optimum water content in field may not achieved as same as obtained in the laboratory. So in the laboratory there might be different condition, as well as in field there might be different condition. So both the conditions are different. So optimum moisture content as in same in the laboratory can't be achieved in the field. So laboratory values may be taken as a rough guide. So we have to take that optimum moisture content and maximum dry density as a guide. So in case of important works, heavy compaction is required. So in case of that, modified Proctor test we are going to use. In case of less important works, we are going to use the modified Proctor test. In case of important works, we are going to use with 3 trials. So average of those 3 trials we have to consider. So in less important works, we are going to calculate, we are going to take only 1 trial. So you can see placement water content means in a water content in borrow pits is not same, uh, is sometimes less than the required. So whatever the water content which we are providing in the field means, uh, let us think that optimum moisture content is 18% and in the field 9% water content is there. Other 9% water content I have to add to make the total water content to 18%. But in case of some borrow pits, some narrow pits, sorry, not borrow, some narrow pits, the water content will be less than required. So some extra water is to be sprinkled, or extra water is sprinkled before compaction. So that is called as placement water content. Sometimes the water content can't be reduced. If natural water content is more than required, then work is to be stopped. If it is more than required, then work is to be stopped. So we have to wait for little bit summer season, so that water content can reduce. So at that point we have to start the compaction. So these 2 points are going to explain about the placement water content. So placement water content is nothing but the water content which is there actually in the field. Okay, next, so this placement water content is very important for control of compaction. So how the compaction is controlled? One by controlling dry density and another one is by controlling water content. So dry density is controlled by taking the reference value as maximum dry density, and water content is controlled by taking the reference value as optimum moisture content. Okay, next you can see we are going to use the Proctor needle. So we are going to use Proctor needle for field compaction control. So you can see over here. So this is a Proctor needle, stem, sliding ring. So needle shank, needle point. So here there is a spring. So this is an indirect method. The Proctor needle consists of a rod attached with spring loaded with plunger. You can see this is a plunger. This is the Proctor needle attached with the spring. Uh, the stem of the plunger is marked to read the resistance in Newton. So this stem of the needle is used to mark the resistance uh, to the penetration, the resistance against the penetration in Newton. The needle shank has graduations to indicate the depth of penetration. So simultaneously with the resistance we need to calculate the uh, penetration as per the graduations given. So for the cohesive soil, needle pointer with large cross sectional area is required. For cohesionless soil, smaller cross section is sufficient. So how to use this particular equipment? So the same mold which we prepare for Proctor test is prepared in the laboratory, and Proctor needle is insisted to compact the soil to 7.5 mm with rate of 1.25 centimeter per second. So 7.5 centimeter it should get compacted at the rate of 1.25 centimeter per second. The maximum force used for compression was found. So the maximum force used for compression of 7.5 centimeter is found. Okay. Okay, next, the maximum force used for compression was found. So we have to compress it for 7.5 centimeter at this particular rate, and maximum force required was found. The number of such penetrations were made and a calibration chart were prepared between resistance and water content. So we are going to find out the water content based on the resistance. Remember this. So in the field, we need to find out the water content. Actually, in the field, we need to control these two things, that is dry density and water content. If the water content is proper and if we start compacting, we are going to achieve the maximum dry density which is required. But controlling the water content is matter now. So that can be done by Proctor needle. So we are going to calibrate the Proctor needle by using this particular procedure, and we are going to plot the graph, that is water content versus the resistance to penetration. So based on this resistance to penetration in the field, we are going to find out the water content, and this method is rapid to find out the water content. So this particular method is very much useful in the field. So next point, I will just read out: the penetration resistance for compacted soil in the field is measured. The moisture content is then obtained by calibration chart. So this is a calibration chart which we initially prepare in the laboratory. Okay, so based on this we are going to find out the water content. So this is the field compaction control. Many of the times in your question paper, this question was asked so how the field compaction is done and how we are going to control it. So you have to write about the procedure of this Proctor needle. So we'll move further. So this is a Proctor needle and this is a chart. Next, if I want to find out degree of compaction, so relative compaction is nothing but achieved field density divided by laboratory maximum dry density. So whatever the achieved field density is there, we have to compare it with laboratory maximum dry density, means MDD, maximum dry density. So types of field compaction equipments. smooth wheeled. So these are the equipments and their suitability is given below. So you can go through the images and the specification which is said. I will just read out the things, uh, which type of compaction material equipment is suitable. So smooth steel drum roller, static or vibratory, well graded sand, gravel, crushed rock, asphalt. For this purpose smooth steel drum roller is suitable. Similarly pneumatic tire roller, most coarse and fine soils. So you can go through it. This table particularly says about the equipments and their suitability. So suitability for various types of soils. Okay, so many of the times they have asked this also in many of the competitive exams also. They have asked about they have asked the questions from this particular chart. So you can go through this chart. Next, now the compaction is over. Next, consolidation. So actually I have said you that compaction is a artificial process, but consolidation is a natural process. Compaction is rapid and consolidation it takes lot of time. So what exactly consolidation is? Consolidation is defined as process in which, as we are calling it as a process because it is a artificial. So process in which gradual reduction in volume of soil mass occurs under sustained loading, and it is primarily due to expelling out of water from the pores. Actually compaction is nothing but expelling out the air from the voids, and consolidation is nothing but expelling out the water from the pores or voids. Okay, but consolidation is a gradual and slow process and it is under sustainable loading. So consolidation can occur for any one of the reason. So consolidation can occur due to external static loads from structure. So whatever the structural load is there, due to that also consolidation may occur after construction. So consolidation can occur due to self weight of recently placed soil. So whenever we place the soil one on other, due to the self weight of recently placed soil, this consolidation may occur. So consolidation can occur by desiccation, that is removal of moisture from the soil. So in summer season consolidation may occur due to evaporation of water. So many more reasons are also there. So types of consolidation. So there are mainly three types of consolidation. That is there are two types of consolidation. So they are uh, we are going to study. Mainly this consolidation is related to total settlement. So total compressed volume. So if I want to find out this total settlement, there are three types in the total settlement. So based on this total settlement only consolidation will be depending upon. So initial settlement or immediate settlement, and primary settlement, third one is secondary settlement. So total settlement is equal to SI plus SP plus SS. So initial settlement. So there is decrease in volume occurs due to expel out of airs from the voids when partially saturated soil mass is subjected to external load, which is known as ESI. So whenever the partially saturated soil is subjected to external load, whatever the amount of air is there in the voids, that is going to escape, and that is called, due to which the volume is going to reduce, and that is called as initial settlement. Next, primary consolidation. Decrease in the volume of a soil mass occurs because of expelling out of water from the voids. So primary consolidation, which is held after initial settlement, primary consolidation occurs over a long time. So after initial settlement, next step is primary settlement. So primary settlement is nothing but expelling out of water from the voids. So but primary settlement is going to occur uh, for a long period, so it takes a lot of time. Next, secondary consolidation. There is reduction in volume which continues with very slow rate even after excess pore water pressure developed due to applied pressure is completely disappeared. Thus primary consolidation is complete. Hence here there is additional reduction in volume, thus additional reduction in volume is termed as secondary consolidation. So after initial and primary consolidation, That means in initially consolidation we are going to expel out the air from the voids, and in primary consolidation we are going to expel out the water from the voids. So after that, rearrangement of grains are going to take place, and for that purpose the reduction in volume takes place, and it is called as secondary consolidation. Next you can see, types of consolidation. Actually there are two types of consolidation, that is primary consolidation and secondary consolidation. So in case of settlement there are three types: initial and uh, primary and secondary. But in case of types of consolidation there are two: primary and secondary. Next you can see spring analogy. So to understand this particular concept of consolidation, Terzaghi has uh, prepared a method. That method is called as spring analogy, which was developed by Terzaghi. A structured soil taken in container consists of soil particles from a skeleton of soil mass and voids filled with water. According to Terzaghi, soil particles can be assumed to be replacing the number of springs. So what Terzaghi did, uh, he has taken a closed chamber. So these chambers are closed, and what he has done, he has attached the spring. So what he considers this spring as a soil mass, and whatever the water he is going to fill, those that water he is going to consider as a voids. Okay, so you can see in detail, soil particles can be assumed to be replacing number of springs. So he has considered the soil particles as a springs, and the water filled in the voids in the soil mass can be assumed as water filled in the cylinder. So water filled in the soil mass or water filled in the voids is assumed as water filled in the cylinder. To study the expulsion of water, an outlet valve is provided to control the drainage of the water. So if we apply the load, the water is going to spill out. So to prevent that spilling out, we are going to provide the outlet valve. So next you can see figure number 11.1a. Figure shows the piston placed on the top of the spring. Length of the spring is Z0 under applied pressure of 10 units, assumed are imaginary. After that, if applied pressure says 2 units are added to the top of the spring will be going to get compressed to length Z1. So what they are going to say here is, this is 11.1. So whatever these springs are there, these springs are compared to soil mass, and whatever the water which we are going to add in the chamber or cylinder is going to compare to the pore water which is present. So when we add 10 units of the load on this particular spring, the length will be Z0. So when we add additional 2 units of load, then the length of the spring will be Z1. So that's what they have said. Next you can see in figure 11.1c, D, E and F, springs with piston are shown placed in container filled with water. If in figure number 11.1c, you can see 11.1c, this is A, B and this is C. So this container is filled with the water, and these springs are placed in that. So in 11.1c, the valve is open but no drainage of water takes place, as the entire pressure of 10 units is bared by springs. So let us think that the capacity of springs is 10 units, means 10 kg or 10 Newton, variable capacity. So if I apply only 10 units of load, spring will not get compressed. So it is a capacity of spring. Okay, so as it is a closed chamber and outlet valve is open, but when we are applying only 10 units of load, these springs will not going to get compressed because it is a capacity of spring. So when we add additional 2 units of load, hence the pressure in uh, and when we add additional 2 units of the loads, then and then only additional 2 or 1 unit of a load uh, addition to this 10, then and then only springs are going to get compressed. But here as the springs are not getting compressed, there is no pressure on the water is there. So when we apply additional 2 units of a load, and when we close this particular chamber, when we close this particular valve, this 10 will be bared by spring and this 2 will be bared by the water, as the water is incompressible. If slowly I open this particular valve, what is going to happen is the water is going to expel out. Water is going to expel out. So this 2 units of load which was taken by the water initially in case D will be slowly transferred to the springs, so 10 plus 0.1, 0.2, like that. Slowly it is going to transfer to the springs as the water is going to go out. In last, you can see whenever valve is completely open, this 2 will be 2 units plus 10 units will be bared by spring, as the springs are going to get compressed, and the water which is going to be expel out is nothing but which is due to additional 2 units of load. It is simple over here. You can see uh, over here, sigma is total load applied. So total load applied is nothing but load taken by the soil, and this is load taken by the water. So load taken by the water is nothing but pore water, which is going to create the pressure in the water, and it is called as pore water pressure. So total 12 units of load which we are applying. So in that 10 is a capacity of spring, and rest of the load will be bared by the water. When the load is bared by the water, at that time you can see if the outlet valve is closed, 10 will be bared by spring and 2 will be bared by water. If we open the outlet valve partially, slowly this 2 units which was bared by the water is going to get transferred to the springs, and slowly these springs are going to come down, and this 2 load is going to get transferred to the springs. So you can see over here, initially total stress is equal to, our total load is equal to total load taken by springs plus load taken by water. Slowly when we open the exit valve, the load taken by water will be transferred to the springs. So delta sigma dash is transferring to the springs, so delta sigma dash is subtracted in the load taken by the water. Finally entire load which is taken by the water is going to transfer to the springs. Okay, so it is going to give the equation like this. So you can just go through it, all the explanation is clearly mentioned. So you can just study the spring analogy. Many of the times in your exam they have asked the question on the spring analogy. So in next session we are going to discuss small part about the spring analogy, that is hydrodynamic lag, and after that we are going to move to the Terzaghi's one-dimensional consolidation theory. Thank you.